is a beautiful Tuesday, July 31st, the last day of July. Welcome to Mornings with Luann and Tim. Going to be another gorgeous day.
Oh man, it's going to be hot.
Well,
hot.
Is it?
Yeah, like 30.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Oh, how do you know all this stuff so early in the morning?
Because I'm just here for days before you.
Did you have a good night last night?
I had an awesome night. I went to my garden and picked my dinner.
What do you mean?
Yeah. I
Seriously?
had yellow beans and cucumber and onion, and so I made a little salad with the cucumber and the onion.
I'm very impressed.
I cooked some chicken breast and yellow beans. Awesome.
Was the chicken in your garden too?
No. I say our garden, but it's Jim's.
I know, you've mentioned that before, that he does most of the gardening.
All of it, yeah.
Did you actually pick the stuff?
I did.
Okay, good for you.
And some basil I picked for my salad.
Oh, do you have the green stuff or the purple stuff?
The green stuff.
I've got both.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what's the difference?
I find the purple is just a little stronger.
Yeah.
It's got a little more pepper, like, I don't know.
I've already made pesto and they just keep coming.
Luann, I didn't know, you're very homey.
Well, Martha.
Not homely, you're homey.
Jim never heard that before.
No, you're pretty.
What about you? You were out boogieing last night?
I was playing baseball. I know, that's the reaction we have. Because I think I might have told people before that when I was a kid, nobody ever wanted me on their baseball team because I'm left-handed. And I didn't know how I did both. I would throw the ball with my left hand and catch the ball with my left hand.
So that's hard, because then you got to
Well, because you would catch the ball, take the ball out, put the glove under my arm, and then throw it. And by that time, the people had already run the bases. And so nobody wanted me on their team. But eventually, I did learn now, I learned how to catch with my right hand. But that's really weird. Because,
that's hard.
Well, right-handed gloves, they had them though. Oh, so anyway, I should tell you where I was playing baseball. TAPS, which is that all people shine. And what it is it's a league with special needs, but like the huge spectrum of young adults and even kids that were playing. So sweet, such beautiful people.
Yeah.
And so they all get together and they play all summer long every Monday at the John Roads, and they play against community teams like the police and EMS and firefighters.
Awesome.
And then so my neighbor Jen Noel, Jen Marshall, she got married. Jen Marshall, sorry Jen, she even wrote me an email saying don't forget it's Jen Marshall. Anyway, she organizes this team of just friends and family and to play against. So it was at 6:30 every Monday they play, and if there's a team or not, if they're not even playing against people, they play each other and just practice.
Awesome.
So I was the pitcher for both games, and I was running around, and I have
for 2 full games.
Well, I don't know how many were on their team. There are a lot. And the way they play is you don't ever strike out. You just pitch until they hit the ball. And they can choose to use the tee as well if they want. So, but I did pretty well. Only a few people used the tee. Everybody was up for letting me. Yeah.
I bet I could maybe hit a ball from you.
I don't know how to take that. But anyway, it was what a beautiful night. And then so after they start off at bat, and then we're in the field, and then we switch, and then it's cookie time.
Whoa!
Yeah, you take a break and you have cookies.
You didn't tell me about the cookie time.
Cookies and juice, and then you go back and you play another one.
Now you're juiced right up.
I know, and then but they kicked our butts. They were Oh my! You should see these kids hit. Well, they're not kids. Some of them are. I guess some of them are my age.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But a lot of them are younger too. Anyway, great day, and actually. Our friend Alex Parr, who is the anchor here, one of the news anchors here, the evening news anchor weekend. Is he evenings? He's evenings.
Evenings.
He volunteered, because we didn't have a cameraman available, he volunteered to come down and he shot some footage. So on...
Good for you, Alex.
What am I doing it on? Wednesday or Thursday? I forget which day it is.
We're going to put it on
it's Wednesday. So tomorrow on the morning show, it's going to be a segment I interviewed them, and then there's some footage of us playing baseball, and they sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." It is so cool. And if anybody wants to get involved, it's really easy. You could actually just go down to the field on the Monday night and watch them play and talk to somebody there, or you could, you'll find out when you watch the script, the clip on tomorrow.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
So that's what, and then I went to visit.
Did you wear a uniform?
I made a mistake. See, I have a baseball hat that was given to me by my friend Sue Barber when she came back from New York, so she gave me a New York Yankees hat.
Nice.
Not so nice.
Oh.
Well, they're all Blue Jays fans.
Oh.
And I walked onto the field wearing this, and they're like, New York! They were all... I wasn't the most popular pitcher
Nice
around.
first impression you made.
I know.
Awesome.
But I did. I look kind of baseball-y. I did my best.
Did you?
And then my
Yeah.
sister Michaela is visiting from Toronto.
Is she?
And she's staying at my sister Karen's house, which is right by Queen Elizabeth.
So did they come and watch?
No, but I went over and had a visit with my sister
Oh,
before
that's
I went
awesome.
home to talk to Bowser on FaceTime because he's sad and lonely.
Oh, poor kid.
He's got a bad cold and he's
Does
taking
he?
Yeah, he's taking penicillin as well.
Oh, no.
Amoxicillin?
Yeah, that's penicillin.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
He's
good.
got a lung infection.
Oh, poor guy.
In a hotel room in the summertime, sick all by himself. Hi, if you're
Keith,
watching.
we're
He's
thinking
not
about
watching.
you.
He'd be at work. He had to go to work at 6 this morning.
Oh, because
filming
you felt like
Letterkenny.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like doing that. You know what? Big Canadian news.
What's the big
Huge.
thing? What?
Huge. Alex Trebek. Gonna retire in 2 years.
Is
Because
he
he's
still
still
alive?
alive.
I'm just kidding.
He's 78.
Holy.
So, yeah. So he says
He
yeah.
looks really.
He
I
does.
saw because there was a thing about take a tour with Alex Trebek's house or something. He's on television being interviewed in his home.
Oh, really?
On some network, not ours. If Alex Trebek wants me to come down to LA and tape an episode of on what are we called? Mornings with Lou and Tim.
Awesome.
78. He's going to retire at 80.
And he's saying there's a 50-50 chance he's going to retire in 2 years.
He's still hosting Jeopardy.
Yeah.
How many years has he been doing
Oh my
that?
word. But I think what they do is, if I understand properly, I think what they do is they tape like 6 shows in a day.
In a day.
So then, like he has a lot of time off together.
So basically he works like a week.
You know what? He stands around and reads.
What do? You sit and read.
Bingo!
Except
I could do Jeopardy. Right?
As long as they provide the answers.
Very clearly.
He must be very wealthy. He's
I would
from
think.
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
He's actually from Sudbury.
He's from Sudbury.
He's from Sudbury. That's
Who's
the,
from Winnipeg? Another game. Oh, Monty Hall.
Yeah, so not the same.
Oh, sorry. That was really loud. Sorry, Mike. Yeah.
Monty Hall and Alex Trebek.
Not even close.
Yeah, not the same.
Yeah, but you'd probably be a really good host of when they dressed up.
Yeah, I would. What's in your purse? What the heck what's wrong with you? Behind door number 1, you're an idiot. You took door number 1, you big jerk.
That's more like your show rather
know
than
what?
what
I
is the
can't
name of the peninsula that what?
I can't stand game shows.
But
Those
you like
people-
Jeopardy?
No, because I'm too dumb.
Okay.
My kids watch it and get the answers.
Oh.
Like I'm just saying. I watch and go, huh? But yeah, the game show people.
So you won't be going to join
Oh.
when The Price is Right comes back to
No,
town. You won't
no,
be there.
Not at all.
I would totally.
Family affairs, family what? Family.
My mother and I always wanted to go on the $25,000 pyramid or the $100,000 pyramid. I could have won. They don't let Canadians on. I could have won so much money. I'm so good at the $25,000 pyramid.
Are you?
I had the home game.
Did you?
I played the home. I'm not even kidding. I was great. If somebody could get me on the $100,000, because it's back on again.
Is it?
The $100,000 pyramid is back on, and I want to go, but I don't think
So
they.
you have to, because you almost get auditioned, right? Because
You-
there's a lineup as contestants.
Well, for
So
that
if
one, you
you're
actually.
not, yeah, if you're not excited enough, they're just like,
I might
like
have a
Steve Harvey there, Mr. Teeth.
I might have a hard time being excited. Oh, I'd be great on a game show.
I would have to slap you.
You do that all the time anyway. Hey, guess who's on my show?
Yeah, who's on your
Guess
show,
who's on Mornings
Tim?
with Tim?
Tim.
John Yun. Did you meet him when he was here
No, I
yesterday?
missed him.
Oh, Luann. Oh, yeah, you were at lunch.
Yes.
He came in yesterday at noon. John Yun is a local guy, a piano player, who's gone on to this incredible career. He is the associate conductor for Broadway tours, internationally touring the world with Broadway shows.
Wow.
Yes.
He's from here?
He's from the Sioux.
Awesome.
And he's going to be on, I have him an interview with him coming up today.
Good for you.
Oh my gosh.
Does he play?
Well, I had my keyboard here, but we talked more than he played.
Oh,
and then I
that's-
said, play something from West Side Story. He's like, bup, bup, bup. And then I was like, play something else, bup, bup, bup. I was like, well, thank God I brought my piano in. He don't. Well, we were busy talking. And then,
That's good, though.
hey, August the 3rd is the unveiling of the new Shingwauk Hall exhibit.
Very
the
exciting.
Truth and Reconciliation exhibit at Shingwauk Hall. The whole thing's been redone. I believe it's at the Wishart Library is the unveiling and the ceremony and everything on August the 3rd. So this morning I've got a couple folks in from Algoma University to talk about the whole project.
Interesting.
The reclaiming of Shingwauk Hall.
Interesting that they didn't do something like this when the students were all back.
It was more of an. Oh, I see what you're saying for the unveiling.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll have to ask them why they're
There you
doing it
go.
now in the summertime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
maybe it's because of that.
and maybe
They really want to focus on the project.
and less people around, so there's more room for everybody.
And it's solemn. It's not solemn, but it's very it's honorable.
It is.
And the university is so proud of it, and they should be. It's,
I think because
Aspen's
they're
done an
using the
awesome
library and
job.
everything, it's just less students to have to
Move around.
I'll ask them that though.
Yeah, would you?
Okay then.
Okay, all
So,
right.
and you're doing news.
I'm going to do news, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, for a change.
So
I thought I might take a shot at it.
we'll come back. John Yun is up first.
Okay, so we'll be back on mornings on TV with Luann and Tim. Not just Tim.
Not.
We'll be right back.
In the studio with me right now is John Yun. Hi, John.
Hi, Tim.
I managed to snag you while you were in town for. You're leaving again when?
My official leave date is August the 12th.
August
so,
the
yeah,
12th.
the timing
so
was good.
Timing is perfect. But
Yeah.
I didn't realize you'd been in town for a while. Now, I guess I should tell our audience that you grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, and most recently you've been the associate musical conductor. Is that right? Associate conductor?
Associate conductor,
Associate conductor
yeah.
for some international Broadway tours,
Yeah,
which is
that's right.
so cool. So, John, you've been in town for a while on a break in between shows. And I didn't know you've been teaching at the conservatory while you were here.
Yeah, I've been there since about March. So from March to June. Actually, I'm still teaching a little bit here and there. But
That's a nice
yeah.
nice coup for them to score you while you're in town.
You know, it's been a kind of a trip for me because I'd studied there, you know, as a youngster from 5 until 16 back when the conservatory was at the portables by the university, and the red portables with no plumbing. And to come back
terrible
and see that
heating.
they have this, you know, beautiful facility now.
I haven't been in there recently.
It's amazing.
It is, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
That huge. But that was the executive office building, I guess, for St. Mary's Paper back in the day. Well, actually, whatever the paper company was
Right.
in the 1800s.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all been renovated now, and they've got studios and a performance space. And I hear they're even looking at putting a recording studio in there. Is that true? Have you heard that?
I don't know how much information I'm allowed to.
That's okay. Sure. Don't spill
But yeah,
any beans.
I think that's in the works. I think
That's
there's
okay.
something about
So
that,
let's
yeah.
go back to you, John Yun.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Sault Ste. Marie, and you started playing piano at a young age.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
old?
I started playing at 5 years old.
Yeah. And interesting story. Who was your first piano teacher?
Anne Turgeon was my first teacher.
Who then left town
Yep,
and just
that's right.
recently came back with her husband,
Yep.
Ed. And they are teaching and playing and performing, and these are world-class
Yeah.
concert
Yeah,
pianist
yeah.
musicians. They're a married couple. They've taken up residence again in Sault Ste. Marie.
That's right. Yeah, the first time I'd seen Aunt, after almost 30 years, she was just sort of walking down the hallway. I thought she looks exactly the same. Like
That
but
was
I don't
my
think she didn't recognize me. She didn't. You know, I think a few months went by before we went out for some food after a concert or something, and then.
You actually said, did you
mentioned
tell
that
her?
to Ed. No, actually, I told Ed one time. I said, you know, your wife was my first piano teacher, and she said, no way. She'll get a kick out of that.
She didn't, but she didn't really remember you. But you don't blame her because you said you weren't a very memorable player.
No, I don't think so. I think I was not a memorable student. I don't think I did a lot of
You were
work.
probably just an average student, John.
Yeah,
like most
for a long
kids,
time,
you know,
yeah.
playing, and you have to practice, and your mother would tell
Yep.
you to practice, and you'd probably
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
do I have to practice piano again?
That's exactly it. No, I think I'm still average. I didn't figure out how to practice properly until much later than I should have.
So music wasn't really in your future, as far as you can
No.
see. When you were a kid,
No.
you said you had interest in like hockey and snowboarding and all
Yeah.
those other things. Anything other than piano?
That's right. Yeah, it was just. I think I just did it to please other people. It wasn't
Yeah.
something that I felt really strongly about, and something that I didn't have a desire to do on my own.
When
Certainly.
did that change?
Late, like really late to the game.
Yeah.
Like maybe 20, 21, 22.
That long before you
Oh.
actually got serious about music?
Yes. Yeah.
That is pretty remarkable.
It's very, very late.
When you think about all the people who are going away that practice and play and then
Yep.
go away and first thing they start studying at college, university is music.
Yeah.
It's not the route you took.
No, it's you know, but I'm okay with the way that happened, because by the time I decided that was something that I was going to really sink my teeth into, then it was much easier for me to focus, and then I was doing it for myself.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the important thing. You've got to be
Right.
something
The
else.
motivation was there, and then after, you know.
And you were talking about who was the teacher at Algoma University that, was it Algoma U or the conservatory, or one of them?
Algoma University.
And
yeah.
who was it? Rob Alicola?
Yeah, Dr. Robert Alicola.
Yeah, he was the one who said, "Hey, John, have you ever really considered like doing this, like going for your master's?" And you're
Yeah.
like, and you went, "What's your master's?"
Yeah, what's a master's? Why would I go to school longer?
Longer?
I don't understand.
But he did. That you did
Yeah.
though, right?
Yeah, I did. And
Where'd you go after Algoma?
Well, my marks weren't great at Algoma, so I had to go to Laurentian to
Okay.
get a fourth year of a bachelor's, and
Yeah.
that was a great experience too. I studied with Dr. Yoko Hirota there, and after my fourth year there, my grades still weren't good enough. Like, I had gotten into a few programs.
Yeah.
One program, McGill, actually had given me a scholarship.
Oh.
Saw my grades from Algoma, and then backed out
Yeah,
and said,
'cause that's-
"Oh, we actually can't do this," after they'd already sent a formal offer. So that actually was a huge kind of kick in the butt. So I went back for another year and like just really put my head down and did everything I need to do. I thought, I'm going to give it one more year, and
Yeah.
if this doesn't work out, then I'm going to switch.
Right.
But it worked out. I got a full scholarship to Western. Got
Full scholarship,
Yeah,
John.
yeah.
Good for you.
So
from
I,
not making the grade
from
to
not
full
making it,
scholarship,
yeah,
you
I
really
mean-
pulled up your bootstraps.
Well, it took
whatever that means.
took me a few more years to get there, but yeah.
Wow. So then Western, you managed to get your that's where you got your master's?
Yes. Yeah.
See, do you also have like a PhD now? Are you like a doctor in music?
No, definitely not. I did 1 year of a doctorate.
Okay.
I did a DMA in piano performance, and then I left because I started getting calls for touring productions of Broadway musicals.
That's where we're going to go next. We have to
Right.
take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
Now, I brought my keyboard in. You haven't even tried it or seen it yet.
No.
I'm almost afraid because what's the name of the grand piano you played when you were in
The Fazioli.
Fazioli grand?
Yeah, yeah.
I never heard of a Fazioli grand, but you said it's like the portion of the
Yeah.
even better. What you saying?
Yeah,
What's
it's like a Ferrari.
Like a Ferrari.
Yeah,
of
it's
pianos.
wonderful.
And it was
Yeah.
what theater were you in? In what country?
The Royal Opera House in Muscat.
In Muscat, which is
It's a city in Oman,
which is in
Middle East.
Middle East.
Yeah.
There, he's traveling to the Middle East and playing grand people. What a life! We'll talk about that part of your life when we come back at my electric keyboard. Here on Mornings with Lou Ann and Tim. Don't go anywhere. John Yun's with us. So John, I feel like I should have a snifter on the piano so that maybe we could all give you tips. Have you ever played a piano bar before?
I have played at a piano bar. Actually, I can see where I used to play in that display right there,
Really?
the Delta.
When it was the
Holiday Inn, there used to be a piano in there. I used to play there every Friday, Saturday night, and Sunday brunch.
No, that was a cool gig for. How old were you then?
I was young, 18,
So,
19.
That was a nice gig.
20. Yeah, it was
okay,
great.
and then now we have friends in common. You were playing, well, first of all in Sarnia when they ran the Imperial Theatre, and now they are at the Victoria Playhouse in, what's it called?
Petrolia.
Petrolia.
Yeah.
And that's David Rogers and David Hogan.
Yeah, yeah.
And you ended up working at the same time as Adam Prue.
That's right.
Who's
Adam
from
and
the
I didn't. Well, I didn't know Adam was from the Sault, and we were on this gig together at Drayton.
Yeah.
In Drayton.
Oh, in Drayton. That was
Drayton.
for Alex Moustakis then.
Yeah,
Drayton.
for
Okay.
Alex Moustakis, and we were doing songs of Sinatra, and he
Right.
said, "Hey, you're from Sault Ste. Marie." I was like, "What?
Isn't
Yeah,
that crazy?
yeah, that's right."
And then you and I ended up doing a New Year's Eve gig together through the Davids as well. in
yeah,
Sarnia.
we did one in Sarnia together.
I was Joan Rivers. I didn't get to sing though. I was Joan. Oh no, I did sing we sang in drag. David Rogers did Ethel Merman, and Mark Cassius did Carol Channing. Oh my gosh. So then through those channels, you ended up meeting people from Stratford.
That's right.
And then and then the Drayton took you down into the States for a tour of a Godspell.
Right. That's what happened. Yeah. We went. An American company bought the production from Cambridge.
Okay.
Or
which is all part of the Drayton.
It was originally done in Victoria Playhouse.
Okay.
And an American company bought the exact production and toured it around, and that's kind of how the whole touring thing
And then
started for me.
through that company, you met, what was his name?
I met Keith Levinson.
Keith Levinson.
Yep.
Now, for those people who don't know, Keith
Yep.
Levinson is a musical director, or the conductor?
Keith kind of does everything. He was my company manager. For those of you who don't know, a company manager is someone who organizes hotels, plane tickets, that sort of thing, helps the company get from place to place, takes care of pay stubs, all that stuff.
Right.
I didn't know Keith was a music director at the time. A fairly well-known, famous one.
Because whenever there's a production of Annie,
yeah,
he is the guy.
he is the guy,
Along with the guy that wrote
along with the guy that wrote it. So
Charles Strauss.
Strauss and Martin Charnin. Martin Charnin is the guy who wrote Annie, and
Was Charles Strauss wrote music?
he wrote music.
Okay.
I believe.
And so then Mr. Levinson gets this gig with Annie.
Right. We were on the bus together, sitting next to each other when he got the call for that gig, and I had sort of alluded that I might be seeking employment in a few weeks. So I just mentioned to him, hey, if you need somebody, I'm going to be available
And it
very soon.
happened.
And turns out he actually did need somebody, and that kind of started the next series of tours.
The tour for Annie, which took you where? It took you all over the. Was it
Pretty much,
international?
it was every major American city, basically. Calgary, Edmonton, but also we did a stint in Singapore and Jakarta in Indonesia.
You were saying that Annie didn't go over so not so popular over there.
Couldn't sell a ticket. You win some, you lose some.
And I told you it's funny because Annie in Indonesia didn't do well, whereas Anna Green Gables of all things does great in Japan.
Right. I didn't know that.
There's a huge market for. They love that. They love that character, and they bring the musical over to Japan. I have friends who actually, Susie Cuthbert, I think, ended up over in Japan doing Anna Green Gables. Yeah.
Huh.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So you do Annie. Play something from Annie. What's Hannigan's? What's that? Is it Hard Knock Life? It's a hard knock life for us.
That's it.
It's a hard knock life for us. Anyway, so you do Annie for how long?
Oh, 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, that's a lot of
touring
Annies. That's a lot of tomorrows.
Usually it's like the sun's coming out my. Anyway, so then what happens after Annie?
Then 4 weeks after Annie stopped, I did a 16-month world tour of West Side Story. Yeah. What
was that like to play?
That was like.
Wait, you conducted though?
Yeah, I conducted 2 performances a week and played 6 on the piano.
John.
Yeah.
That is so. And conducting was something that you had studied. You know, everybody who takes music at some point or gets a degree in music learns some conducting skills. But
I think for pianists who go into music directing and go into music theater and opera, it kind of becomes kind of a natural path. Like if you look at a lot of opera conductors now, a lot of them started out as pianists, and I think partially the reason that is because they're, the similarities between overseeing an orchestra and our instrument is unlike any other two. Right. So we have low, middle, high range. It's similar in an orchestra. You have your middle, low, high, etc.
Right.
It's kind of like playing a piano, except you don't get to touch any of the keys.
And your conducting chops really came out of working in opera, yes?
Yes, but they certainly got a lot better. Getting repetitions on the podium.
You had to sharpen them up to get.
Yeah, definitely.
To the standard.
I mean, getting working with a 20-piece orchestra twice a week. Right, that certainly.
Right.
Those repetitions are.
Can you play something like? Can you play something from somewhere, like from West Side Story? Isn't it? Is some? There's a place for us.
Oh,
Can you play that at all? Do you know that one?
I do know that one.
Is that hard?
I'm drawing a blank on.
Are you? Play something else from West Side Story. Play anything. Oh, there it is. There's a. Oh gosh. That was wonderful. That was John Yun. That's 30 years of musical lessons, and you can.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's been a couple.
Okay, so West Side Story you do, and now the next one is.
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's
When
the
do you
next
start
one.
this one?
I start that one in 2 weeks.
Do you know the music yet?
Yeah, I've actually been at the conservatory like almost every day practicing.
Really? I don't know
I think in
anything
2
from
weeks
that.
will be. I think you do.
Really? What? Play something I know. Can you play something I know?
Off the top of my head, no, not at the moment.
I'm really glad I brought my keyboard in here, John.
Yeah.
Play anything, I don't care. So where do you go with this one?
This is also all over the United States, and then we have a 7-week sit in Toronto, actually, at the Princess Wales Theatre.
Ladies and gentlemen, in Sault Ste. Marie, if you want to see our very own John play anything, if you want to see our own John Yun, well, not see, because you're in the pit. Are you conducting again, or are you?
Yeah, it will be.
You really? Associate conductor again?
That's right.
Okay, so we're all going to go to Toronto, do a bus tour. We're going to get a bus trip together. We're all going to go at the Princess of Wales Theatre. No.
Yeah, Princess Wales
Is it
Theatre.
still there? I thought they tore it down. I thought they wanted to put
I hope it's
condos
still
up.
there. Otherwise,
don't know where you're
I
playing.
don't know where we're playing.
So we're all gonna come down to Toronto and see you playing in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the new musical. And I know that our cameraman Kevin's gonna want to come down because he loves Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I really appreciate you coming in here.
Thanks for having
I know
me,
that you're a
Jim.
busy guy and
Yeah.
you're only home
No,
for a
this
little
is
bit
fun.
longer, but John, how come you don't get carpal tunnel? You took good care of yourself?
Oh, I did have a bout with tendonitis, actually.
Did you?
Yeah. Actually, during the Songs of Sinatra show, I had to hire someone to play all the rehearsals for me.
See?
Yeah.
That's because it takes its
No,
toll.
I had to relearn how to,
Like,
practice
you go
and be
through
more efficient.
physio for that, eh?
No, not anymore, but I've just become a lot more aware of my
Well,
body.
take care.
and
Get
when it
those
says.
things insured.
Yeah.
All right, because I had to get my mouth insured to do this job, so. And that's the true story. I'll tell you
really?
that. I'll tell you that after.
Okay.
Anyway, John Yun, ladies and gentlemen, Sault Ste. Marie's own, currently employed, gainfully employed as an associate conductor and first keyboard sometimes.
Yes.
On these amazing Broadway tours. So I'm so happy for your success.
Great. Thanks,
and your
Jim.
mother must be so proud of you.
I think so.
Mrs. Yun, you
Yeah.
did good. All right, we'll be back with more after this. Mornings with Luann and Tim. Stay with us. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Tim.
And welcome back to On TV Mornings with Luann and Tim. You got a coffee.
I did.
So now you're going to be nice, right?
I have to thank Will, our cameraman, for taking care of this. Thank you, Will, for taking care of that
Yes.
for me.
Yes,
Well,
he takes
the
good
machine
care.
needed water, and there's nothing worse than you're on in a minute and a half. Like, I have to fill the machine with water. I don't
Right.
have time. I need my caffeine.
Yes, he does need his caffeine. It helps his personality sometimes.
Yeah, and the drugs in there help a lot too. Ambien. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Ambien. Why aren't you sharing then?
If you can't share your drugs with the whole class,
Yeah.
then yeah.
Keep them at home.
That was
just
bubble
keep
gum.
them at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So you have an interesting segment
I
coming
don't have
up.
enough time.
I was going to say,
We,
you know
Luann
what?
and I were just sitting in the green room talking
with
to,
our mouths open.
I know, talking to Mike Kakaji and Krista McCracken from Algoma University, talking about the interview that's coming up. The story of Truth
Oh, my
and Reconciliation
gosh.
and the reclaiming of Shingwauk Hall, and Mike is a residential school survivor, and the stories are mind-blowing. The history, I didn't know. He just gave me a brief history, and as he said, it's almost like a mystery novel. And you
It
start hearing the
seriously
stories
is.
and you want to turn the next page and find out
Yes.
what happened next. It literally is, it's consuming. I mean, I could...
And it's absolutely phenomenal how things went a certain way, and hearing the story, you know that it could have gone another way like that.
Yeah.
And everything would have been different.
Yep.
You know?
And then to find out about that property that Algoma University is on and the deeds and all of that stuff that happened, stuff I did not know.
Lots of legalese there.
Holy smokes, years and years with lawyers and just trying to get back what was promised in the first place.
And,
Oh
and
my
that nobody
gosh.
really knew of, and then...
People
they-
studying there who had no idea the history of the place, no idea it was a residential school. People graduating with history degrees, not knowing they were graduating from a university
Isn't that
that had a history as being a
unbelievable?
residential school.
We'll look forward to that.
Okay, so we could do a whole hour.
Oh, yeah,
We could probably
seriously.
do a whole document. Well, of course, documentary's been done. I want to do one. Anyway, stay tuned. I'm going to bring Mike Kakagi and Krista McCracken from Algona University because on August the 3rd is the unveiling of the Shingwauk, the reclaiming of the Shingwauk Hall.
I love that, the
Yeah.
reclaiming of.
So stay with us. More coming up on Mornings with Luann and Tim right after this. In the studio, Krista McCracken is joining me, and so is Mike Kakagi. Thank you for being here this morning. Krista is a researcher and the, what's the term?
Curator.
Curator for Algoma University. And Mike Kakagi is one of the founding members of the Children of Shingwauk. Krista, you're not originally from this area. You moved up here about a decade ago.
Yeah.
And you've been at Algoma the whole time?
About 8 years.
About 8 years. So, not knowing this area and this region, did you have a background in Aboriginal studies, or?
So my background is in public history, which deals with museums and archives. I knew a little bit about residential schools prior to coming to Algoma University, but was kind of blown away when I started talking to people like Mike and learning more about the local history.
And actually working out of the building itself must
Yeah.
be remarkable.
Definitely.
To be surrounded by that history. I mean, it's in the walls.
Yeah, no,
You know,
totally.
literally.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of in the walls, you lived within those walls, didn't you, Mike?
Yes, for 4 years.
You were a resident at the school for 4 years.
Yeah, for 4
You
years.
were originally going to school, you were at a residential school in... did you
In
say what?
Chapleau.
In Chapleau.
Yeah, and they closed that, and then they shipped me up north. I was up in the James Bay area, Moose Factory for 4 years, and then down to Shingwauk.
Because when the school in Chapleau closed, you told me that they took you by sort of...
Well, it was
the
by-
Crees
yeah,
went one
by-
way, the
yeah,
Mohawks
by-
went another,
yeah.
and the Ojibwe
Yeah.
came here.
There was an amalgam of different tribal people in that school from different nations.
In Chapleau.
And when they closed it, they sent all the Crees back, most of the Crees back up north.
Okay.
To James Bay, and then the Anishinaabe, the Ojibwe people, they sent them to Shingwauk, and then the Haudenosaunee, the Mohawks, down to Brantford. There was a school in Brantford.
How old were you when you came to the residential school in Sault Ste. Marie, to Shingwauk?
I was 12, going on 13,
And you were there till you were 16 years old.
till I was 16.
How would you describe that experience, if you could sum it up?
Different.
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Different. And well, you know, really at that given time, not knowing any other experience, I mean, I never was at I'd never been at home, so it's kind of like just
That's all you knew.
like an institutional experience.
Right.
Yeah.
Then let's fast forward. 1981. You come back. It was the first. This is true. It was the first reunion of of residential school survivors in the country. Happened here.
As far as our knowledge goes, yes. There was never ever one anywhere else in Canada that had taken place or had been undertaken.
Yeah, and so you didn't quite know what to. Who organized that?
Well, there was a bunch of us, like I was mentioning earlier there, that it was our intent really was to bring all the former students back because of some of the issues we were having with property and the definition of the property and all that, and just to make a show of we'd call it a show of force, but a show of numbers.
Yes.
On just what the intent of the residential school was, and bring back as many of the former students as we could.
Right.
Okay. So when we initially started that, we thought we might get 40 or 50, but much to our surprise, we got over 300.
300 former
residential
school survivors
yeah.
came to Sault Ste. Marie in 81.
In 1981, and the feeling was that like nobody really cared prior to that about us. That was a lot of the general consensus. And then they said, well, who would really care that much to have a reunion and bring us back? And at that, there was a lot of kind of shock and kind of withdraw. A lot of them were withdrawn and didn't want to talk about their experience and all that, because a lot of them were going through a lot of emotional trauma.
Yes.
Okay, and a lot of the horrors that come out later took about 10 years to evolve. And then we had the other one in 91, and that's when the floodgates opened up and the whole residential school movement spread across the country.
Across the country. Now, Krista, what kind of, the work that you've been doing with the archives must be absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
What kind of stuff have you come across?
So we collect material relating to residential schools all across Canada. And it actually started with that first reunion because people showed up wanting to have their experiences recorded on audio or video. So we have all that material. So firsthand accounts of survivor testimony from residential schools. But we also have photographs and documents relating to schools and student experience there, with really an emphasis on telling the residential school experience from the survivor experience.
Oh.
So at the 81 reunion, that's actually how the center was started, or the project was started, because so many survivors saw that their experience wasn't being represented in history books, in the media, and so they wanted to tell residential school history with their voices. And that's how the project, or the Shingwauk Residential School Center where I work, was started.
Now, recently in the news, we've heard that Premier Ford, no, was it Premier Ford? Yes.
Yeah.
He pulled the funding for a writing development project. It was curriculum geared to teach kids about the history of Indigenous people in our country. It was a writing a series that was happening with educators and First Nations people, and he pulled the plug on the funding.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is terrible. But then I didn't know until you came in here. You guys have already been doing that locally.
Yeah, so
You've already worked on curriculum for our local schools.
Yeah, so locally we see over 100 school groups come through the center a year, so both elementary and high school. Often Mike comes in to speak to students to talk about his experience at residential schools. We're engaging in professional development workshops with teachers to make sure they're comfortable talking about residential schools. So it is already happening locally, and I'm sure the school boards will continue.
Goodness. Okay, we have to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk some more with Mike and with Krista about the reclaiming of Shingwauk Hall and the unveiling that's happening on, is it Friday, August the 3rd?
Yep.
Okay, so more with Mornings with Luann and Tim right after this commercial break. Little sneak peek of you there, Krista. Okay, so we're back from commercial. Mike, the land that the present Algoma University, the present Anna McRae School, and the now raised Sir James Dunn School, that entire chunk of property from Queen to Wellington and then east-west boundaries, that all belonged to
A trust
a trust
Yeah.
that was supposed to be
set aside for Indian education.
set aside for, catch this, Indian education. So First
Yeah.
Nations
It
education.
actually runs from the river.
From the river, oh, right from the river,
river
where,
all the way
where
up.
they dump the snow. But no, you guys have built there now,
No,
right?
there's
The
a
Shingwauk
national library going there, yeah.
Education Trust is building there right now.
Ah, okay. So, but from the water all the way up, that was all supposed to be for Indigenous education.
Correct.
And instead, as we all know, it became Sir James Dunn, a public high school, Anna McRae, a public elementary school, and there wasn't a lot of Indigenous education going on in those places, right? So now it was years of legal battle that you guys were involved with. Did that start in the 80s or did it go back
No, it started in the 70s.
in the 70s? When you find
Just shortly after Algoma University College relocated there from the grounds of Sioux College back then. It was Cambrian College back then.
That's right, because you told me that in order to get their charter to become a university, they had to have a deed to land.
They had to have a clear deed and own the land to get a freestanding charter.
And somehow the United Church, was it United Church?
Anglican.
Anglican Church figured that they could sell the land,
Yeah.
but they weren't entitled to
They
sell
didn't
the
know it.
land.
No, it was under trust, and they were basically. You see what happened when the original trust started? It was under the original principal there of the school was E.F. Wilson and his family.
Oh.
And the money raised and everything else, they sold a bunch of animals. From the people from Garden River were actually the First Nations that were deeply involved, the Shingwauk family, in fact. And over the years, the trust had transferred from the Anglican Church back over to the Government of Canada. And then in 1969 or 1970, I think Jean Chrétien was the Minister of Indian Affairs at the time, he transferred the deed or the trust back under the control of the Anglican Church.
Okay.
And so in the ensuing time from 1970 up until we got it cleared up in the 90s, the trust was pretty well up in the air.
20 years of legal battles to try to get that deed back to the
and a lot of
trust.
negotiations, but there was a lot of legalese attached to it.
Sure.
Because it involved property.
Ron Irwin helped you with that, didn't he?
Ronnie Irwin was the lawyer on record for the First Nations, did a wonderful job.
Now, Krista, let's get back to what's happening right now. Now that, okay, so finally, we are at the present. Truth and Reconciliation is long overdue and it's in the works. Algoma University is now becoming, and Shingwauk Hall is now becoming a center, a national center for Aboriginal history. Is that true?
Yeah, so what is opening on Friday is an exhibit that's one of a kind. It's the first major survivor-driven exhibition in a former residential school building in all of Canada. So pretty unique in that, and it's very much driven by the survivors. We started planning for this exhibition space in 2012. And the first phase of it is opening on Friday. So very community consultation, very grassroots based.
It would have to be. It must be amazing to have historians like Mike, and I guess also who's been a real driving force as far as the history goes? Has it been there's a professor there? Is it Don?
Yeah, no, there was a group at the university over the years. Included a couple of the professors, former president Celia Ross.
Oh yes.
And then Lloyd Bannerman, he's passed on.
Okay.
And there was Don Jackson. There was a number of us that worked on that over the years. Just as a point of interest,
yeah.
A lot of the artifacts that were there were the only ones that in Canada probably that served as a depository for former survivors, that they knew if they sent whatever they sent in their records, their photographs or whatever else, that they'd be safe. And as a result, we've got artifacts from all over the country there.
Where have they been stored, Krista, all this time?
So some of it is on display throughout the university, but we do have a secure storage facility in the university, as well as there's a visitor space in the Shingwauk Residential School Center.
And a lot
Very
of people.
much.
Yeah, they even have Morrisseau, because Orville Morrisseau was a former resident. Some of his originals.
His artwork?
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned that there's a bit of a tribute paid to some of this very famous
Oh yeah,
people who came out of
that. That was one of the original intents, was to have that hall of fame of the former students that went there, and they're quite they're quite famous and quite entrenched in Canadian history.
You've got
Canadian,
actors, you've got politicians,
right?
Hockey, sports figures.
Sports figures.
And now this exhibit it's a permanent installation.
Yep.
And it runs the entire front, from the front entrance in towards the theater, and both sides down from the. Look at me! I'm doing like I'm like on a runway, from the administration offices, like what's that? That's
the
the registrar
registrars.
office, all the way to the Wishart Library. Amazing.
Yeah.
Very unique.
Very
unique. And how it's structured, because they try to capture some of the architecture, early Indigenous architecture. And weave it in.
I can't wait to see this, you
Yeah,
guys.
beautiful.
Is the public invited
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
And,
for the unveiling on August the 3rd?
Yeah,
At 2,
it was,
yeah.
2 p.m.
yeah.
at Shingwauk Hall on Queen Street. And then, is there more in the works?
There is. So we actually already have received funding to continue with this work and continue developing other spaces in the university.
Will you guys come back again? I could talk to you for a very, very long time, but we're out of time right now. I can't thank you enough for coming in. I'll see you there on Friday. We're going to have a crew coming down to cover it as well.
Good.
So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll be back with more Mornings with Lou Ann and Tim right after this. Okay, so just a heads up, on Friday I'm going to be leaving here early.
Yes.
Well, normally I work until 3, but I'm going down to Shingwauk Hall.
You have to work through your lunch then, mister.
Okay.
I'll be watching.
No, but couldn't it be considered work when I'm there covering a story?
Absolutely.
Was that incredible?
Phenomenally interesting.
And that wasn't even like half of what we got in the green room.
Yes.
I know, we got a history lesson in the green room before that. I
lucky.
just think it's
Yeah.
incredible.
It's
I'm
an awesome,
so excited
awesome
to learn
project.
more. And
If
we're
you're in the
so
neighborhood,
fortunate.
Stop in. Stop in on Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock at Shingwauk Hall. Just an incredible, what a legacy.
And stand proud.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
there's
And I'm
lots
proud.
of-
I'm so proud to be part of this community, to have survivors like that
Yes.
speaking up and teaching all of us about the history of our country, of Turtle Island. Luann, tomorrow morning, same place, same time,
Same place, same channel.
same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks for joining us on TV, Mornings with Luann and Tim. We'll see you on Wednesday.